Welcome back, everyone, to the Popcorn Podcast. I'm Tommy Cresta. Alongside me is my co-host Ryan Ferran, and today we're here to talk about Neon's new horror film, Longlegs. And before we get into that, Ryan, I just want to ask you how you're doing because I forgot to ask you in last episode.
No, it's fine. I didn't notice it at all. I'm doing all right. It's a good time. Good time down here. Very bored. Um, Other than that, fantastic. Doing really really well.
That's good. Did you hear about who's going to be directing the next two Avengers movies?
I did. The Russo bros are back.
I don't know how I
Yeah.
feel about that, but
Honestly, I'm gonna be honest. It gives me a little bit more confidence because they were the only guys who knew how to They did such a good job in Infinity War and Endgame of spacing out the characters. So in the next Avengers and then Secret Wars after that, there's going to be so many people to give lines to. So I think having those guys back, who are kind of the only two people who have really experienced that, I think it's a kind of a good sign. So gives me a little bit more hope for those movies. I still don't think they're going to be very good because Marvel's track record is dog shit after Endgame. But yeah, it gives me a little bit more hope with those movies.
yeah. Well, that's not why we're here today. We're not here to talk about Marvel. We're here to talk about Neon's new film, as I said, Longlegs, directed by Osgood Perkins. And Ryan, how do you say her name again before we get into this?
Michael,
That is not how you say her name.
Mikey. I think it's Micah.
Is that right, Micah?
That's what it looks like. I don't know. Just say Monroe.
Yeah, Monroe. Mika. I'm gonna say I said Mika. Ryan said Micah. Micah Monroe and Nicolas Cage and Blair Underwood. And this film is about FBI agent Lee Harker, who is assigned to an unsolved serial killer case that takes an unexpected turn, revealing evidence of the occult. Harker discovers a personal connection to the killer and must stop him before he strikes again. This film
really?
released on what was that?
Wait, really?
Shut up.
I didn't realize
This film
that.
released on July 12th and has a budget of less than $10 million and has already crossed the $25 million domestic box office mark. And so far, amongst all sites, it's done pretty well with its scores. It has a 65% on Fandango, 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 78% on Google, and on Rotten Tomatoes, it has an 86% critic score with a 65% audience score. But before we go into our deeper dive, me and Ryan like to give our quick initial thoughts. And so far, I think what I think is the downside of this movie is the dialogue. And however, I do think that everything else in this movie makes up for that with the camera work, like the way it moves and the way how it doesn't move, the cinematography, as I said, the acting, the direction that it takes, and just the eeriness that I felt, and the way that made me think about it for the next few days after watching this film, which to me right away proves to be that is one of the most important parts of a horror movie. Is that I like when I have to think about it, and that's what pops into my head randomly when I'm in the dark, or if I'm trying to go upstairs to bed, or if I go down to my basement and the lights are off. So to me, it makes up for the dialogue, which isn't great, but yeah. So I loved it. It's gonna be really hard to knock out of my top 10 of the year so far, and what I think is gonna end up being my final top 10. But yeah, I really liked what Osgood Perkins did, and I'm excited to see what he does next.
Yeah, well, anyways, if you want to steal my line again, that's cool, but just let me know. Because Tommy did record. We tried this before. We got those initial thoughts out of the way, and then Tommy stopped the recording for some reason. But I initially said that my biggest gripe with the film was its dialogue in general. Like Tommy said, this time. Um, it was just so basic, especially when it comes to Agent Carter, Blair Underwood, his character. Not that he did a bad job. I think, like I said last time, that Tommy didn't steal. The actors did a great job. It was very well acted, very well directed. The best part of this movie is the tone. Like Tommy said, the camera work. Every technical aspect in this movie was fantastic. On a technical level, it's really, really outstanding. But I think, like I said, and like Tommy stole, that the dialogue is just the biggest downside of this movie because it's so basic. It's very, very basic. There's not really like any sharpness or wittiness to it. Obviously, like wittiness isn't a word that you want to use in like horror, but it's just the first word that came to my mind. And I think you understand what I'm saying when I say witty. There was no like smartness to it. It was just very, very basic characters talking, figuring something out, going to the next place, and then talking, figuring something out, and going to the next place, and just over and over again. There was nothing like to it that much. It was very, very simplistic, which I think dragged it down a little bit because it made it kind of boring to watch. But again, the tone, the camera work, the acting, the makeup, everything else about this movie made up for it. It was a really, really fun one to watch.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I'm sorry if I took your thought, but we had the same
All
idea.
right.
We even in the other one. I just got to talk first this time.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I
Yeah.
think another thing I did so well with even the marketing on this film is that the trailer, it was really the same trailer a bunch of times, just in different orders for the most part, and none of the dialogue, the really only the main dialogue in any of the trailers was when Nicolas Cage's character says, he's like, I know you're not afraid of the dark because you are part of the dark, or you have the dark, you are the dark. And that's like the main dialogue of the entire trailer and every single trailer. And there was so much that you didn't understand what's happening. You didn't know what you were going to see. That I think they did such a good job with. And I did not expect a lot of what I saw. And I wasn't expecting it to be. This was something my mom didn't like, but something I loved. I didn't expect it to go into the demonic so much, but it was what I loved probably the most about it. Shut the fuck up, toilet. But can you
God.
hear that?
Yep.
God damn it. But yeah, it was something I really loved. I like the fact this is going I don't want to say any spoilers yet. I want to give them at least a couple minutes of us just talking. But yeah, I think the performances, I thought the way that Osgood Perkins did the character of Lee was really good. And I like the idea, which I'll get more into before. I just want to let you get your thoughts across too. And I liked the marketing of not showing Nicolas Cage until you were in the theater. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's just some
Yeah.
quick things for me.
I think the marketing for this movie was fantastic, and I think that's why you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score, the fan score, it's a 65. I think that's kind of got a part to play in it because the marketing was not quite misleading, but I feel like the marketing made it look scarier than it actually was. At least for me, like I was pretty nervous going into it, but then when I started watching, I was like, all right, this isn't too bad. It's I think the marketing was almost better than the actual movie, just because it got so many people hype, and we see in the box office, it got so many people to go see it, and I think a lot of people are going to be maybe disappointed. Isn't the right word? Maybe a little disappointed, but it's just I feel like it didn't quite live up to how the marketing was hyping it up. But at the same time, that's kind of the fault of the movie, but you can't fault the marketing team because they did a fantastic job. Like even with just like the posters and everything, it makes it look so much scarier than it actually was. At least for me.
Yeah, because it definitely is more. I was
It's
trying
more
to
of a
explain
thriller
it.
than a horror.
Yeah, it's definitely a thriller with horror elements. Which, if you read it, if anyone like saw anything Osgood Perkins said or anything, they did say it's not a true horror movie. It is a thriller that is just disturbing, which makes it so
Yeah.
much makes it in what most people consider a horror movie.
Yeah. It's
And
very similar to Silence of the Lambs, and that's completely on purpose. But it's almost the same story to
yeah,
a
it's the
to an
same
extent.
idea of like
Yeah.
serial killer hunting down this very specific their like threat and their yeah, I mean, but there is some scenes in this that it might not be in the most true sense like a modern day horror movie. It definitely, if you're gonna consider it a horror movie, it definitely falls more into like the old school 70s, 80s style where it's not a lot of jump scares, it's more just tension building. But there
Yeah.
are two jump scares. I don't even know the ones on purpose. Um, the
The
one's
first
very
one?
early on in the movie. It's pretty much just the title crawl, not title crawl. It's the title screen pops up. Scared the shit out of me because I was not expecting in the sequence. Um, and there's one a little bit later in the movie, which I knew, which was an on-purpose jump scare, which really got me to jump a little bit. But I think something that hasn't been really talked about in this movie so much is that there are some actually like laugh out loud scenes. Like my theater at least laughed like out loud as like a group multiple times.
When? I don't remember laughing at all.
Well, we laughed at when the girl this isn't a spoiler, this is kind of in the trailer, it's just you don't see hear what she says. When the girl's like, "Dad, that creepy guy's here," like the entire theater just laughed.
Oh yeah.
Like stuff like that. It was very much early in the movie before anything serious really starts happening. Because then after this movie, I don't want to say gets going because it from the beginning it had me like invested. I want to know where it was going. It definitely once it hits like oh, this is where like we're gonna start getting like into the story, into the what's going on. Definitely does not let up in the dread. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I mean
I
that opening scene, that jump scared me. That one got me when it just cuts to,
yeah,
Nicolas
because
Cage.
he like because the way the camera's set, you can't see his face, and then he
He's
drops
so
down, so you
close to the
should get
camera.
his see his face, and it does like the long legs, which I
Yeah,
thought
but
great
also,
opening scene. First off,
yeah, it was. It really set it up. But also the next scene with like the opening FBI scene going like
oh
door to
yeah,
door. That scene really set the mood because that dude, I mean,
yeah, it didn't go
just
well.
immediately was like, all right, we're in. This is the type of movie we're going to be watching now. Just got me right into the mood for it.
And there was something me and my brother talked about as soon as we walked out. The use of stationary camera in this movie was so perfect for the type of movie we were watching. Like how they would set the camera up and the people would move into the shot. It wasn't like we're watching the camera move and we move to see the people. Does that make sense? Like how they would have it set up to like a corner and the people would move to it.
Yeah,
And it like at least for me, it made me feel so much more immersed into the movie. Maybe I was like, oh, I'm in this scene. Like I'm
yeah,
right here with these people. And the way most of this film is close up and it's definitely a lot more tighter angles, which I think all works so well with the story and the idea and the characters. Because I mean,
yeah.
I
I
thought
agree.
about Nicolas Cage all week after
Yeah,
seeing it.
it does a good job of putting you in the scene. Like it feels like you are the camera. You're the fly on the wall watching all of this happen. It does a very good job of that, and that's in major part to the tone. Like I said, it sets the tone very early on. It's very eerie and moody throughout the whole thing. There's obviously, like you said, a little bit of comic relief in there, but it always fits. It never draws you out. It always keeps you invested throughout what's going on with everybody. So it's just a great movie. Like on a technical level, like I said, it's just very very well made. Yeah,
And yeah, I don't. Well, from here, I feel like it's kind of hard to talk about the movie without getting more into it and talking a little bit more into the spoilers. So if you just wanted to hear our beginning half of this, non-spoiler part of this episode, I would definitely say probably click off now, go watch the movie, come back and listen to us. Because yeah, for the rest of this, we're definitely got to talk more into the spoilers because it's not a very long movie. I think the actual screen time of the movie, they think this is an hour 36 minutes. Total, they count it as an hour and 41. And yeah, there's not a lot that we can say without spoiling certain sequences. So yeah, go click off, come back later. And yeah, so we're gonna get into spoilers now. The first kind of like spoiler I want to talk about though, I want to talk about Nicolas Cage's actual look. Because I don't want to tell people what he looks like if they haven't seen the movie yet.
yeah.
He
Looks like
looks like
he breathes unbelievably loud. You know what I mean? Like that dude breathe. He's a mouth breather for sure, and
oh,
it's
he's
not on
100% a
purpose.
mouth breather. He does.
Like
You watch him in the movie, he mouth breathes.
yeah, 100%.
He
I mean,
I'm sorry,
the
continue.
schnoz is unbelievable.
He scared the fuck out of me. I mean, if I had a dream, my first nightmare, I don't have many nightmares about movies, and I don't even know if this was a nightmare. I was just in a store and I was walking around and he was in the store. He didn't interact with me. He wasn't looking at me. I just saw him twice in the store and I woke up like scared the
Okay.
shit out of me. And it was such a unique look cuz he
Yeah.
looks like a swollen Marilyn Manson, not Charles Manson, Marilyn Manson. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah. He just looks scary. He looks creepy. He looks like a fucking freak.
and the
Um,
voice that he used was so good. And then all of a sudden, in the interrogation sequence, when he drops that like high pitched voice,
yeah.
that interrogation scene scared the shit out of me. Not even scared me; it was just so uncomfortable to watch.
Hmm.
And of course, it takes a very drastic turn at the end of it.
Yeah. I almost wish there was less blood in that scene so you could see more of like, because you could see like his bone sticking out a little bit, but I feel like there was so much blood on his face that it
Well, he
kind
was
of covered it up too much.
he was
You know what I
slamming his
mean?
face back onto the blood though, so
I
it's
mean,
probably just
he was hitting it real hard, but I kind of wish there was a little bit less blood so you could see more, because like obviously the makeup was fantastic throughout the whole movie with his prosthetics on his face, and then I wish you could kind of see that makeup shine through a little bit more because there's not a ton of like blood in the movie, except for like certain scenes, it ramps up pretty fast. But that was kind of the first time you see blood in the movie, besides the flashbacks and the pictures and stuff. But yeah, I wish you kind of saw a little bit more of it when he finally kills himself, slams his face into it.
But yeah, no, I like that. I did like though the minimal blood, because as you say, when there is blood, it comes quick and it's a lot in that sequence.
Yeah,
But in total, for a horror movie about a serial killer, it's not over the top with like the blood
no,
and it's very quick violence
yeah,
and direct. Like it's important that what they're showing you is on purpose.
hmm
And another scene that had oh, did you like did you I me and my brother didn't notice. My brother knows more than my mom did. Did you know how many times did you notice the demon?
Oh, I noticed him a bunch. The creepiest shot in the whole movie was when she's figuring out the triangle with all the birthdays,
And it's
and you see
behind
it
her.
through the window.
Wait, you
It's kind
oh,
of
in the
behind her, but then she
library?
looks out the window, and it's like it fades out real fast. Oh, that creeped the shit out of me. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, you
no,
see it a lot.
you know the scene when she gets the letter in her house before the scene
Yeah.
you're talking about? It's
hmm
in the house with her.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the first
I
time
don't.
it was at least the first time I noticed it. She's sitting there and it's kind of like because the whole time you can see like the door behind her, like the kitchen, and
Yeah.
then it cuts down. It shows her circling things to try and figure out, and it cuts up pretty quickly and then back down again. And it's all of a
It's
sudden
there.
it's the demon's there for like a half second, and it cuts back up and it's gone.
Yeah. I
And it
don't
was
know if
just
I
a
noticed
really
that because I
creepy.
was I was trying to look in that door because it like in any movie you leave a door open behind a character, something's going to show
There's
up.
a
But I
reason.
must have missed that. Yeah.
I like that whole sequence though with her at her house, and then when she's out there, you see him in the house. Very
Yeah.
specific, and that whole why the fuck you would get a house to where she is? Horrible
Dude,
idea
that
ever.
is the creepiest house ever. Like that is it's
It can't look
terrifying.
cool anytime. That sounds
No.
horrible.
No.
But yeah, I liked. I'm trying to think. I liked actually going back and seeing each of the murders. Like even though you don't get it in full depth what happens, I mean, except for the one with the axe, you definitely see what happens there.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, they just kind of tell you what happens. They don't fully show every single one of the killings because there is a lot. But there was I think, a scene that nothing crazy happens. I mean, you find out a big chunk of the story, but when her and Agent Carter, when they go to the barn for the first time and they're searching, it's
Yeah.
just the two of them. The fact that there was no other light besides the flashlights,
hmm
so nerve wracking. And then when she
Yeah.
starts going up the steps and there's only the crucifix on the ground, just very, especially I think coming from people that have went to Catholic school and all stuff like that. Definitely for me at least, I was like, oh my god, this is super like I could feel like the knot being like, oh, this doesn't feel right. Like all
Yeah.
those kind of things. And I feel like for anyone that believes in the devil and God and anything, this movie would definitely hit harder, I think, for those type of people than people who don't.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But I didn't like when they finally get to the top floor and find like the doll and stuff. Was that light coming through from the lights outside or was it just daylight? Because it got so bright all of a sudden.
When they're actually
And
looking at
even
the doll, like when the camera's
yeah.
on the no, I think it's just the one flashlight. So because it's so
No,
much
because there were
closer.
lights coming through the windows.
Oh yeah, maybe it's the car because I guess from that angle, yeah, the car
I
might have
mean, there
had
were
the light.
lights outside, like in front of the windows, but it was so bright, and it kind of like changes. Like they get there, and it's kind of dusk. You can still see a little bit. Then they go in. There's a shot through the door, and it's just like pitch black.
Yeah, no,
Like
it's
I feel like the
dark.
light was just changing throughout that scene, which kind of it was kind of creepy. But
Yeah,
yeah,
creepy. I mean, just there's not a non creepy moment in this movie. The whole movie, even the scenes with the comic relief, are still creepy as scenes. When he starts, I talked about it earlier in the non spoiler part. When he goes into the store and the girl's like, "Dad, the creepy guy's here," and then it cuts to him in the car and he starts scream singing. I don't know
yeah,
why. That scene was horrible. Like not bad, like in a bad way, like horrible in a good way. Like I felt so like, why am I watching this? Is horrible. This is making me feel very uncomfortable. And I don't know. It was stuff like that that I think really like the scene when it's he's sitting in the basement in his like basement crafting room. He's just sitting on the bed in like his long john pants with the red light.
yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was very freaky.
Yeah, like stuff like that. Like it didn't need to jump scare me. It was just creepy. Like scary is the wrong word.
Mhm.
It's just disturbing, creepy, evil. That's like the
Yeah,
best words to describe this movie.
absolutely.
Did you
I
like
agree.
did you like the girl? Did you like Harper in the way that she was? Harker?
Yeah, I thought she was pretty good. Yeah, I mean, it kind of got a little bit overdone how she was so monotone the entire time. It was, it was a little bit boring to watch sometimes just because she was so very one note. But I think she did a very good job. Like Micah Monroe did really really well.
Yeah, because I liked because the way I took it wasn't even monotone. I had it in my head at least. It was like when you see some like there's those people out in the world that are just so good at something or they're so smart that they have no like social cue.
Hmm.
That's how I kept seeing her. I was like, oh, maybe she's just so. But then you kind of learn more about her and you kind of understand why she is the way she is. But
Yeah,
yeah, no, I
like I
definitely
mean,
agree. She was so one note at certain times. I was like, okay, like I would like a little more character, but I love the scene with her and the little girl when they're first talking.
the girl in the mental hospital.
No, 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 that scene's scary. Um, no, the Agent Carter's daughter.
Oh,
Remember when she's
yeah,
sitting
his
in her
daughter.
room?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that I love that whole like idea of that scene and how uncomfortable she is. She's like, "So, do you want to go to her birthday?" And she just doesn't even talk to her. She just like nods her head really. She's like, "Yeah, yeah, sure."
Hmm.
Like that was when I really was enjoying it. And then trying to think of other stuff because the whole movie like now it's just like to me it was just creepy. And I'm trying to like specifically put it to scenes. Did
Yeah,
you
I
have
mean,
a
it was just
favorite
the
scene?
tone the whole way. I really don't know if I had a favorite scene. It was very samey in a good way throughout the whole movie. Like not no scene really like stood out to me as being better than another or worse than another.
Oh, makes sense. Did you how about did you see the twist coming at all?
The twist with the mom,
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. I figured that he was probably in the basement when, the in the mental hospital she says, fear the man downstairs or whatever, and then the door's locked. I kind of figured that, but I didn't realize I didn't it didn't get to me that the mom was helping the entire time. I figured maybe she was, doing something, but the whole twist I didn't see coming, but I thought it was pretty good.
You know, I like
Um,
the twist of the mom. Even though the mom I got faster than the him being in their basement.
really?
Because the whole time they kept saying the man that's there, in my head that was just the devil, like in hell underground, like
Yeah.
beneath
I
us.
mean, that was definitely on purpose to try and
Yeah.
like throw you off because that also makes sense. Because he says it as well in the interrogation room. He's talking about the devil as the man downstairs, but obviously it's a little bit more literal when it comes to him in the basement.
He's
But
actually just downstairs.
yeah,
Um yeah, no, I like the whole twist. I like the stuff with the dolls. I know my dad was not a huge fan of the idea with the doll, but to me, I didn't take it so literally. Like my dad took it as like they can see with the doll. I took it as more like there's like a big thing like paranormal and stuff like that. That
you have to invite it in.
there's a conduit. Like that's something that the
Oh,
devil just attaches itself to.
all right.
And that's just
Yeah,
all I
I
took it
agree.
as.
Yeah, I also took it as like it's not always in paranormal stuff. I know it's big with vampires, but I feel like sometimes in ghost stuff you have to invite it in. So getting it in the doll and then they accept the doll, bring it into their house. That's kind
Oh
of
yeah, that too.
a point of it. Yeah, that's kind of what I took it as. But I kind of liked it with the dolls. I thought it was pretty cool. It does kind of like make you question it because when in the end when the mom shoots Lee's doll and you see the like black cloud kind of fall out of her head, so the devil gets out of her. How much like obviously she didn't have full control. The devil didn't fully control Lee because of the deal the mom made. But like how much control did he have over Lee? Because the more I was thinking about it, the more I figured maybe like the whole thing with like is she psychic with how she figured out in the first scene with her, how she figured out the guy's house. The more I thought about it, the more I thought maybe that was the devil pushing her in the right way so that she would, get the attention from Agent Carter and get put on this case because she was so important to it. Like it was just the devil's plan all along to have her get on this case and figure it all out, and then they come down to her what decision she's going to make in the end. Um, so yeah, that's what I think that was how she figures out, in the first scene that the guy's in that house. It's the devil kind of pushing her in that direction to, play into his game and play into what he wants. But I
No,
do wonder
that's
if
what
there
I
was
thought.
any more of it. Yeah,
Because
I
I
don't know.
thought
I
maybe because she didn't end up the way that most of them did, that maybe there was a reason behind that he needed her to like kind of like
Yeah,
push forward this idea and get closer to this. Like the devil, long legs, whatever you want to say, needed
the
help in
devil.
this mission that they had in its mind. Yeah, I guess the devil because long legs really just like a helper,
Nicholas
and
Cage is the long legs. Yeah,
yeah, because he is long legs. Um, that whole yeah, I really enjoyed the ending, and I liked something I was finding really interesting throughout the movie was seeing each of the. Remember when we first talked about this movie when the first posters were coming out?
yeah,
It was fun finding like seeing each poster eventually.
yeah.
Like that's where I was
I
having
agree.
like fun with it because you see the mom sitting on the chair with her belly. You see the
Hmm.
house with the snow. You see the nun, which was the nun was a great scene. Like I just liked seeing it, like that actual the moment when she's in the costume and stuff for the first time, the suit, and I liked seeing that. I liked the look of it. I like that you see that at this point, at least during the time, the mom's doesn't want to be helping in this, but over time you see that it becomes easier and easier to her.
Yeah, of course. Like she's kind of disgusted with herself after the first one. I took that the scene with the farmers when she runs out. I took that as probably that was her first time helping. But then obviously later on, you see with Agent Carter's family, she's just numb to it now. And I think that's why she is the way she is. She's just gotten so numb to it and realized that, she's probably going to hell.
Yeah,
And so
She's
she's
not
so
going.
monotone and so fucked up that that's why she talks the way she does the whole time. Yeah, I don't know. It's creepy. Was it creepy to you how like the dolls looked underneath with like the yellow eyes?
Oh my god,
And they
horrifying.
really? Because
Yeah,
I
kept
mean,
creeping
it
me
is
out.
creepy. The only reason it didn't creep me out, and I'll send you a picture because I took a screenshot in the 21 Pilots music videos. The bad guy has like the exact same look with like the yellow eyes. Nico, I was like,
Oh,
dude, that's not the devil. That's Nico. That's fucking.
well,
He's
I've
fine.
never seen the music
I know,
videos.
but I just sent you a picture. It looks like it's the same like yellow eyes. Every time I saw it, I was like, I know where they got that from.
Let me find this picture.
I just thought it was funny. I
Ah,
just thought it was funny to see that every time. I'm like,
yeah.
where? I can't
If I
think of
saw
what
that
that
before, I
is.
probably would have felt different.
Yeah,
They
but yeah,
You
I
know,
thought it was a
I
really
like the
cool
design of
concept.
the dolls. I liked. You know, something I really liked the one family murders, the one when the dad uses the axe on them.
Yeah, and the priest.
How you see the dad and the mom treating the doll when the girl's not home.
Yeah,
That
like
was
it's their own daughter.
so eerie to me and so just
Hmm.
weird.
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I do think, and it's also cool. Like looking back again, that was the girl that survived, Carrie Ann, who they meet in the hospital. So she probably was out of the house on purpose so that she would survive. The devil, it was his plan all along to have her talk to Lee later on, years later, and do all that. But I will say with that scene, again, with the writing, I feel like what's the actor's name? Kiernan Shipka did a
Yeah.
fine job playing that character. But the way she talks needed so much thicker of an accent. Do you know what I mean? Like she was so stupid and just had all those like dumb
Well, I don't
words where
think
she
she.
was like, and they's gonna get you, and like talking like that, but she had like no southern accent. You know what I mean? Like it was just throwing me off how she was talking the way she was, but the accent was like not there. I don't know. It was just a weird thing that I noticed. I was like, why the fuck are you talking like this? This is like
Yeah, like you weren't a huge fan of just like the voice and like the way she spoke and all that.
yeah, but it was just like a very weird thing of like, why do you talk in this like thick like the word she used was like a very specific thing where she didn't have the right accent. It just kind of threw me off. It's like it's not important. but it's just a little thing I couldn't get out of my head.
Fair enough. I did like when she I liked what was I gonna say? Oh, when they go to see her for the first time, like, oh, can we see the check-in? And it's her name. And
Yeah,
just like what you're saying, it was all a plan to get to this final point where the film's gonna end.
yeah.
And
It
well,
was
where the
all a plan
plan.
to see what Lee would choose in the end, and it'll be interesting. I wonder if there will be a sequel. I doubt it, but there is a little bit more to like go into and see what happens
Yeah, because I don't
with
think he
Carter's
wants to make a
kid.
sequel. I wouldn't
I doubt it.
I
I
don't
doubt
want
it.
a
This is
sequel
one.
because I would just make me mad at this point.
Yeah, like it's perfectly open ended where you can like think of further things to happen, and maybe there's more. Like the devil could still do more. Maybe there's another helper out there, but you don't. This is a movie that doesn't need a sequel. It was like perfectly open ended where you can still think about what'll happen next, but you don't need to see it. Um, but yeah, I really liked the ending. I thought it was well done. It was pretty suspenseful. I did like how like when Carter and his wife go back into the kitchen, the mom was like, "She's already dead. Don't worry about it." And you just hear her getting murdered in the
That
background.
scene made me so upset. Like it was just I didn't like the you could hear her like squirming and yelling and stuff in the kid. I didn't like
Yeah,
that. That made me so like just
yeah.
ugh.
You can also see her kind of like breaking out of it too. Like Carter is fully taken over, and you see her kind of like the look she gives Lee was almost like a help me look. You know what I mean? Where she kind of like breaks off
Yeah,
of
there
the
was
script.
nothing like Cam Carter was fully like taken away and the wife still looked
Yeah,
like she wasn't saying what she wanted to say, but she was
yeah,
looking like as if she was scared.
yeah, exactly. And like the way she fucked up and was like, the way Carter goes and he's like, "I need a knife to cut the cake." She's like, "Do you need a knife?" And like she definitely was not in her own mind. The devil had taken her over, but she was still fighting back a little bit, which made it even worse when you hear her getting killed because there was still a little bit left over. Carter was fully gone, but there was a little bit left in her. But I do wonder if Lee were to have shot the doll, would it have gotten would it have saved them? The way like it probably would have gone out of the little girl's head like it did with Lee. But do you think it would have saved the parents too? Like it would have kind of broken them out of that spell, I guess.
I don't know if it because it's more like it's like very much like an Amityville kind of situation where the dad's the one who always ends up being like the bad one. But it kind of seems like the kid maybe just becomes like infatuated with the doll and it kind of keeps their attention. I don't know. It was kind of a weird thing. So I don't know if they kill the doll, it would change the parents. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I mean, I'm not sure because it's always like I don't think it's the kid. I don't think it has much to do with the kid. I think it's more so the doll is just like a conduit that they invite into their house, and then the devil through the doll is able to possess everybody and just have the dad or whoever commit all these murders. I don't think it has as much to do with the kids as it kind of made it seem. But
Yeah, like
yeah,
it's more that it can get into the house because of the kids want in it being a doll, but then it affects the parents. Is that how you think of
yeah,
it? Yeah. Okay.
hmm
And I just want to say, Carter gets dropped like a bad habit.
yeah. Puts up a
And I
fight though. He took
loved.
one on the shoulder and just kept marching on.
Do you realize she only had 4 bullets?
Yeah.
Yeah, she had 4 bullets in a 6 shooter.
Well, unless because she tries to shoot the doll at the end, but it could have been the devil just not letting her shoot the doll. Like fucking up the rounds. She could have
Oh
had
yeah,
six in that
doesn't
gun.
she say like "oh fuck you" or something?
Yeah. Like she was. I don't know. It could have been something other than her just not having enough ammo. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, no, I don't know. Wait, does she shoot Carter's 3 times or 4 times?
I thought it was twice because she shoots.
Oh yeah, she shoots him in the shoulder and then shoots him in the.
I
But then
think it
she
was
shoots him.
twice, and then she shoots the
Yeah, so I
mom.
guess
So that's
she should have
three,
had at
and
least
then
one more round. I don't
at
know.
least,
Maybe
yeah,
I'm wrong. Maybe there is a 4 shooters that I just don't know of. But very happy that she had another gun on her because
yeah,
a lot of
yeah. It
they
was
do
good.
talk about a lot that a lot of like FBI guys like that have like ankle guns, and she did.
hmm Especially then, and especially like for a woman, you kind of have to do that.
Yeah, you gotta
Like we were
keep the
saying,
secondary
like
on.
yeah,
Dude, what about the
it's
one
got to be
FBI
tough.
agent getting blown away in the car?
Oh yeah, that was nuts. that was.
That
I was
that was a
wondering what
great
that was.
shot of her reacting.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah, it
poster.
really was. Mm-hmm. Because as soon as she like noticed the car in the barn, and
Yeah,
then
she like
not
started
barn,
making
but
her
like the garage, but ooh, she got blasted. The fact the mom went around to
blast.
the other side and got her again, like,
Yeah,
oh my god.
like got her once, definitely wasn't walking away. Wasn't even getting away.
Yeah,
Then just walks to the other side to get even closer shot.
unbelievable.
Great. That was like another moment where it's just like it doesn't need to be super scary. It's just the actual action of someone doing that is creepy. It's disturbing.
Yeah,
And that's just the best
and then
part of this. That's I've said it 100 times. The disturbing stuff is what makes this movie so good, and that they weren't.
yeah,
And it was just showing you that people are just there are just evil actions, and in this world, in this story, it's the devil that's causing these evil actions. But yeah, I mean, beginning to end, had me invested. I was very happy with it. I loved that when it would go back in time, like show like the killings and stuff, it had the oh
it
my
was like
god.
Super 8, like it was the
Yeah, Super
square
8. And then it would go
aspect
back to
ratio. Yeah.
widescreen. And then they did the shot of her where it opens from Super 8 to widescreen.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, it
Love
looked
that.
good.
Yeah, and that opening scene was so well done with like the snow and her in the upstairs coming
Yeah.
outside talk. When he says yoo-hoo or cuckoo, I'm sorry, and
Yeah.
he's leaning around the building and leans back. Oh hell
It was
fucking
freaky as shit.
no.
I also loved in the opening scene with the title card being like blood red, super bright. The way it fucks with your eyes for when it fades in and everything looks like black and white. Like it fucked with my
Oh,
eyes so
it's
much.
so bright.
I thought it was gonna be like black and white for the opening scene, and then just the way my eyes kind of like faded back into color. It was very cool how
Yeah,
the
like the
bright ass red just really fucked with your eyes, just physically.
yeah, and then the scene when they finally do get long legs and he's just standing at the bus stop. So I just love
Yeah,
how simple it was. There was no like fight to get him. It was
yeah.
just they pulled up
He
to
just
him.
had all his notebooks on him.
He had his guitar.
Yeah,
And then I love watching the VHS of him being in the interrogation room. We start singing "Happy Birthday."
yeah. And he's looking at everybody like, "You're invited.
Yeah,
You're
you're
invited. Happy
so
birthday."
such a distinct, like important, like just such a little like everyone's probably like watching like oh it's like oh it's just creepy, but like
Mhm.
there's more to that. Like to me at least, that's like more to that he knows where everyone is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was so creepy, so
Hmm.
cool. And then the interrogation scene. For those who don't know, they released footage of Mika Monroe the first time that she sees Nicolas Cage, which was the interrogation scene. She was not allowed to see him on set. They weren't allowed to interact until they filmed this scene. And her heartbeat got so loud they had picked up on her mic. And watching the actual like the release clip of them like doing it in real time, so cool. Especially then to get to watch the scene and see what she saw for the first time. And if you just walk into a room and you're expecting Nicolas Cage and that's what you see,
Yeah.
that ooh
Creepy as hell.
yeah, dude, my heart rate. I wish I had like an Apple. I would have loved to have checked my heart because we were halfway home from the movie and it was still like I could feel it in my neck beating.
Really? See,
Yeah,
I
like I
didn't.
don't know. It was so uneasy to me, and it wasn't scary. It was just so creepy to me. Like it was so uncomfortable that my heart just was like, "Oh, this is not good." And I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
fucking
wasn't
me.
really that scared the whole time. I will say the creepiest part was the fucking dude. I went by myself, and it was like a group of four in front of me, and I was in that like side theater. At Regal, there's like the side theater that's a little smaller.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
I was in that first like it's the second row in, but it's the first like full row, and then there's like a couple chairs behind, spaced out.
yeah.
There was a dude. I mean, I saw him that he had taken that seat when I was buying the tickets, but there was a dude just in like the corner by himself.
Oh,
I was like, what the fuck? And then the movie ends. I stand up and turn around, and he's just gone. He just left. I don't
oh,
know
he just
when. And I was
left at
like,
some
what the
point.
fuck? Yeah. I was like, who the hell was that guy?
Damn,
It's
dude.
fucking
I mean, I
creepy.
genuinely like. I walked out like the movie ended and I was smiling. Like I was just so happy because there are a lot of times where movies like this that like get you excited, especially in the horror thriller genre, and they just don't turn out good.
Yeah. Expectations can get so high, and then just you get incredibly disappointed. But I mean, I think to a point that happened to me because the marketing for this was so creepy. I thought it was going to be much. I thought you were going to see much more of like in the past and see more of the murders. I didn't get as much of that as I would have liked. You really only see the one. Um, but I mean, overall, I wasn't very disappointed. Like it was just a great movie all the way through.
Yeah, no, that's what I think. Like, I definitely at first was like, oh, this is gonna be like a true horror movie, which it's not, and maybe that's just the marketing team just had they did a great job getting everyone to get into the theater. And I mean, don't get me wrong, still leaving this theater, I was still like, it still scared me. Like I was still, it didn't scare me in the way like a Paranormal Activity scared me or Hell House. This was like real thoughts of like the devil scared me, and
Yeah,
especially when you don't think it, like, 'cause, I mean, I'm not walking around every day like, oh, the devil. But then, like, when a movie like that in my head, I'm like, wow, that like this does happen to like Amityville, one of the, which is a true story, a true murder that happened. That was
yeah.
because it's
Ryan
supposed
Reynolds
to,
actually did all that.
yeah, Ryan Reynolds,
Crazy.
the remake, and yeah, which
Yeah,
it's something like that scared me. But
yeah.
I just want to say something really cool. I did not know this until right before the movie came out. And I don't think I'd ever talked to you about it. So Osgood Perkins, he did the Gretel and Hansel movie by A24 horror
Yep.
movie. Not horrible, not great, but I didn't know his dad's Anthony Perkins from
Yeah, from
Psycho.
Psycho. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's another cool thing, and now it makes sense why he doesn't watch. He said a whole thing. He doesn't watch modern day horror movies. He doesn't think they're as good, and now looking, seeing who his dad was makes a lot more sense to me why he feels this way,
yeah,
because he definitely grew up on that old school horror, which again, Psycho to me is one of the scariest movies of all time. Has stuck with me since I was 6 years old, all the way to now. And yeah, so I mean, I thought it was just a cool detail to be someone who made a movie that's so good, and especially in that like creepy horror thriller sense, and then looking back, his dad's one of the most infamous
faces of
horror
horror.
character people ever.
Yeah, yeah. I think going back to like the whole marketing thing, I will say I hadn't really thought about it much. It just kind of popped more into my head. I was a little bit like once I figured out, or once they showed in the movie that it was more so about like the devil and possession and hail Satan, all that shit. Um, I kind of locked in and I was like, all right, this is what this movie's going to be about. That's fine. It was still good, but I did think the marketing was most misleading because I thought it was going to be just like a straight up serial killer thriller where Nicolas Cage was just a serial killer going through and she was going to go through and have to track him down through the decades. And that was kind of like the first pictures that released. Like we were just talking about him. That's what it really made it seem like with just all these photos that came out, those initial posters. So I was a little disappointed, like going into how you can get excited for something and then be disappointed very easily. I was a little disappointed at first that it wasn't just that because I thought that would have been awesome, just having like a straight up serial killer movie, just tracking them down. But at the same time, like I said, like once I figured out what was going on and what it was really about, I kind of locked in. I was like, all right, this is what this is. That's fine. It's still good. But it just popped into my head when we were talking about how your expectations can get a little too high and you get a little disappointed. But it's always good to realize what something is sooner rather than later when you're watching it so that you can kind of avoid that disappointment.
Yeah, and no, I definitely agree with you because they definitely give. But thank God I'd kind of been like just leading up to it. You know how excited this was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, right from like the get go of like seeing the person, the idea, and Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage being in it was so cool. They I'd been kind of keeping up with it, so I knew that definitely leaned into the satanic a lot because
Hmm.
the marketing, like there was a website that was like an old school 90s website and it had all the killings and stuff on there that you could read like in-depth like reports. It was really
Yeah.
cool. And it definitely was like explained like, oh, the devil, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, so I kind of understood, but it definitely was more thriller than I thought it would be,
Yeah.
which didn't
Which is a good
disappoint me.
thing.
It was just more like getting used to. I was like, oh, this isn't like a genuine horror movie. This is a thriller that has horror elements.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and the other jump scare that I said I would bring up, that one, the one that really got me, was when it showed his face and like it turned white, like when she
When was
takes the
that?
picture of him. When she looks at the
Oh, yeah,
picture
yeah,
of
yeah,
him.
yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, I mean, me and the guy that was sitting next to jumped. Like I got some airtime because I
Yeah,
just
I
was
jumped
not expecting it.
that initial one in the opening scene when it cuts back and you see just like his chin and he's like leaning down to her. That
Yeah.
one, that's the one that got me the best because that was like this is the very beginning of the movie. I wasn't prepared for it, and I just jumped. And that creepy ass dude in the corner was probably like, "Who is this dickhead jumping already?"
I'm
The guy
shocked
in
you went
front of
by
me jumped
yourself.
too.
I
It's
thought you
great.
weren't gonna go see it until I could see it. So I was like, oh, you probably went with someone. I am
Yeah,
shocked you went by. I'm genuinely like
I was
proud of
ready.
you.
No,
That's
the second
impressive
I
for
knew
you.
my dad had seen it, I was like, "All right, it's not that scary." Because my
Well, just
dad
because so.
my dad got nightmares from Stranger Things, dude. My dad cannot handle horror at
See, like
all.
this is scarier to me than Stranger Things ever has been.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay,
That's my
cool. I
point.
was making sure that
Like my
you
dad
agreed. I
is
wasn't sure you agree with him.
no, my dad is such a bitch when it comes to like horror movies or anything like that that he got nightmares from Stranger Things. This is ridiculous.
I will say, there's no association between these two movies. Just the way they made me feel. The way that I felt during the first act of Men is how I felt for this entire movie.
Hmm,
Like just the
I got you.
uneasiness, like with the naked man stuff in Men,
Yeah,
is how I
the
felt during
suspense
this
of like
entire movie,
yeah, the
like
suspense
beginning
of
to end.
like when's he going to show up again? What's he going to do? Where's he going to be? How's it going to be? Yeah, I agree. It was the best part of this movie is the tone.
Yeah, because you're just
Absolutely. And it does
waiting
a
for
such
more.
yeah, it does such a great job of riding that tone all the way through. Like I said, I didn't think any scene was particularly better or worse than another one. Nothing really stood out because it was just so one tone, one note in the best way possible throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much how I feel. I feel like it held the same level for me from beginning to end, like of
Yeah.
quality of like filmmaking and my enjoyment. Because like there
Hmm.
would be scenes that ended, and I'd be like, "Wow, that was so creepy," and like smiling because I was like, "Okay, that was really cool." Like the camera, like I loved the stationary camera was probably my favorite. Like how it'd be like set up, and they would just move into this. Like I loved it. I just kept was like every time they did because they did it a lot in the mom's bedroom when they would talk to her, and they did it in her house a lot. And that was something I just every time it came up, I was like, okay, really cool decision. And to learn that Osgood Perkins did almost was in the like because a lot of time there's like the chair that's like attached to the camera now. That's why with the bigger cameras. Osgood
Yeah.
Perkins almost always was the person there. Like the
Yeah.
cinematographer would get set up and then he would sit and watch instead of watching on like a tablet while it's filming, he would sit right there and look at the camera, which is a
Yeah,
little
that's good.
cool, like directing detail. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, I genuinely just really enjoyed this movie. I mean, I think people, if you're definitely a fan of, I don't think it's up to the. Of course, it's not gonna be Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs won 3 films to win the Big Five. It's one of the greatest movies of all time. But if you're a fan of that style of a movie, like where it's just a serial killer, it's not a horror movie per se, but it has horror elements throughout it. If you're a Nicolas Cage fan, I think this is like the perfect Nicolas Cage role because he gets to be weird and loud and Nicolas Cage, but at the same time, just super creepy. So I think people will really enjoy it. I know it's some people haven't loved it, but then like Letterbox is definitely like Babyloning, where it's like either people love it or hate it. So it's been
Yeah.
mixed. But
I mean, I
I mean
think it
I would
has like a
recommend it to a
three.
horror person.
I think it has like a 3.5 or like a 3.6 on Letterbox as a
Yeah, and
whole.
then when the last time I looked, I think it was when it first came out. Ryan, it was late like either 1 star, 2 star, or 4 and 5. Like there was
Yeah.
no in between ground yet.
Hmm.
So I mean, I would recommend it to someone I knew would like a horror or thriller movie. I definitely wouldn't recommend it to someone who doesn't like those kind of movies.
Yeah, totally. It's an intense movie.
Yes, intense is a very very good word to explain it. But yeah, I don't have any more thoughts about it. It's again, this is one of those movies where it's not super long and a lot of the scenes they're not the same, but each killing is similar. But yeah, I like last thought. Cinematography, fantastic. As Ryan has said, the technical aspect of this movie is extremely well done, and Nicolas Cage is fantastic, and so is Monica Monroe. And I'm so excited that she's doing It Follows 2. For those who don't know, It Follows 1. She's also in. She's a star. Very good. Go watch it. But yeah, those are my last thoughts. Ryan, what do you want to say?
I went on Letterbox to look at reviews, and one of the first ones I saw was a 4.5 stars that just said I shit myself and felt it running down my long legs, and I think that's perfect to leave it off with. I
That's
also want to
fun.
mention the very closing shot when you get Nicolas Cage again back in the interrogation room. 100% that was just another take that he did where he just kissed at the blue kiss to the camera. It was perfect, so
Oh
funny.
yeah, like that was definitely just the interrogation scene. They were just like, and he was just like, "Mwah," and they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
he was just
Oscar
going
Perkins like,
off.
he's like, I'm finding a way to put that in my movie.
Yeah, 100%. It was great.
But yeah, do you have? Oh, we this I guess the final thing we should say is what's your score for it, Ryan?
I gave it a 4 stars on
Out of
Letterbox. I'd
100.
say like 82, 83.
All right, I'll put you down for an 83.
All right. What about
You
you?
gave it a higher score that I gave the Bike Riders.
I still haven't seen the Bike Riders. I've heard nothing but disappointment.
It's not as good as I wanted it to be.
Yeah,
Very bad character development.
gotcha.
Bike Riders didn't even reach an 80 for me,
Oof.
and I was expecting like great.
Yeah.
I give it an 89. Long legs. It was. I mean, it's in my top 5 so far this year. I have it just above In a Violent Nature, which is at an 87, which you still have to see, which is very different. I'm not associating these movies; they're not on in any way similar. But yeah, 89 for me, 83 for Ryan. But before we go, Ryan, what is your recommendation of the week for everyone? Let's try and keep in the same genre for this one. Let's give us
All
like
right.
nice
Thriller.
thriller, nice, or you can go horror. Either side for
All right. Airbud, the basketball one.
you.
Um, I mean, it's probably a cop out, but Silence of the Lambs is like the best. It's just a fucking great movie. So go watch that. Obviously, that's like a group recommendation from both of us. Silence of the Lambs is fantastic.
It
What
is
else?
fantastic.
What's a thriller that I like? You think of one, because I got to keep thinking.
I'm ready. I have mine.
Then say it.
I talked about it earlier in the episode, and Anthony Perkins, Osgood Perkins' dad, is in it, and of course, it's in my top 30 probably movies of all time, and that is Psycho, Alfred Hitchcock at his very best. I know a lot of people like to say Vertigo, but I am very much someone that believes that Psycho is an amazing movie. It is one of the few old horror movies that truly holds up with like today, and yeah, it's truly scary. It's very creepy. Great story, great writing, great performances. Amazing. Love Psycho.
Cool. I looked up thriller movies just to kind of like, you know, refresh my mind. One of the first ones was The Beekeeper for some reason.
That's an action thriller.
Yeah, all right. Whatever you want to say.
Damn, Psycho's got 97.
What do we got? Gone Girl. There you go. Gone Girl.
Banger. Love that fucking
Banger.
movie.
Fuck that bitch.
Such a great performance. Rosamund Pike, you're a dog.
Rosamund Pike is fantastic, but goddamn, she sucks so bad.
Well, you got a recommendation of the week. Our group one was Silence of the Lamb. Ryan picks Gone Girl. I picked Psycho. Next episode will be us reviewing the final 2 episodes of The Boys. And then after that, of course, will be a House of the Dragon review. And a Deadpool review will be coming soon because that comes out in a few days now.
Yeah, pumped.
Yeah,
Ooh,
super
how about the
excited.
Miller's Girl? Or Miller's Girl?
Oh, Jenna. Oh God, I don't even want to talk about that. Well, Ryan, you have the
Martin
final say.
Freeman.
What do you want to tell everyone?
um, I mean, go see Longlegs. It's very good, but also watch Silence of the Lambs first, so you can kind of understand what you're getting into. Because the more I thought about Silence of the Lambs while I was watching Longlegs, the more I was like, God damn, these are almost the same movie. Like there were so many scenes that were just almost ripped straight out of Silence of the Lambs.
But yeah, good final take, Ryan.
Thanks, buddy.